Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're aiming to give you that crucial insight shortcut, really focusing on what we might call silent liabilities. These are things quietly undermining, well, business continuity and even your digital transformation plans.
That's right. And we're zeroing in on one specific workflow that honestly leaders often forget about. Taking payments over the phone. You've likely modernized your website, your app, maybe even your point of sale.
Right, all the front-facing stuff.
Exactly. But many places still have employees, actual people, manually taking credit card details over the phone. And that legacy process, it's become a major strategic risk that's just flying under the radar.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. For an executive trying to map out strategy, why should this specific operational gap, phone payments being manual and maybe a bit fragmented, why is that a strategic threat? Isn't it more of a customer service thing you can just manage with staffing?
Well, that's the interesting part. It's about the cost of inconsistency, really, and the limits on scale. When you modernize online channels, you get unified processes, right? Consistency.
Makes sense.
But keeping phone payments manual, that throws consistency out the window. It demands specific staff training, it limits how fast you can actually scale up operations, and it makes it harder to control rising service costs. It's like an anchor holding back efficiency.
But it sounds like the real liability, the core issue, comes down to the human variable itself. The second a person, an employee, touches that sensitive card data, like writing it down or typing it somewhere.
Spot on. That's the trigger. Every single time a staff member collects that card data manually, the whole organization gets pulled directly into the pretty demanding scope of PCI DSS, the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard.
And for leaders who aren't necessarily deep in IT, what does that actually mean? PCI scope.
It means your internal network, your staff policies, how you train people, your call recordings. Perhaps suddenly all of it is subject to these really complex, ongoing security controls and, frankly, burdensome audits.
Yeah, and the source material gave some pretty vivid examples. It's not always about sophisticated hacking, is it? It's sometimes basic human error creating these compliance landmines.
Exactly. Things like call recording systems accidentally picking up card numbers when they shouldn't, or staff just scribbling details on sticky notes before typing them in. Maybe even just the network environment itself not being properly segmented because that payment data touched an internal system somewhere.
So that human involvement just ramps up the risk exponentially. And PCI isn't a one-time check, right? It's continuous.
Precisely. It's a continuous state of control. Managing that scope constantly eats up resources, time, money, people. That resource drain is the silent liability we're talking about.
Okay, so the strategic fix isn't just better training for staff on handling data carefully. It's actually removing the staff from that specific part of the process altogether through secure automation.
You've got it. Secure automation, maybe using something like an IVR system, or even just generating secure payment links for customers. It effectively de-scopes your environment almost immediately.
How does that work exactly? De-scoping.
It works by design. The sensitive data simply never enters or touches your internal systems. It goes directly from the customer to a secure, compliant payment processor. So you dramatically reduce the risk, and you practically eliminate the audit headache tied to that specific workflow.
This really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? For executives, it means we have to stop looking at automation just as a way to cut costs.
Yeah.
The strategic costs of not acting.
Oh, definitely.
Like regulatory exposure or even insurance problems if there's a breach and you're seen as negligent, not to mention the huge potential hit to brand reputation. Those seem far greater than the cost of actually modernizing this one channel.
Absolutely. And if you zoom out, it really becomes a governance issue. Leaders need to start asking different strategic questions now. Questions like, where are we still handling sensitive data when we maybe don't need to?
Or maybe, how do we cut down this audit burden, especially when we're trying to run lean?
Exactly. And maybe the biggest one, what risks are we just quietly accepting right now that simply don't make business sense anymore given the current landscape?
So replacing these manual phone payment processes with automated options, it's less a technical upgrade and more a fundamental governance decision. It's about aligning how you operate with today's risk.
That's the crux of it. It establishes a defensible position, something solid you can show auditors, regulators, even your own board, demonstrating you have control.
So for the business leaders listening, what's the immediate next step?
It really has to be leadership driven. First, identify where this manual handling of card data is still happening. Phones are key, but maybe check other channels too. Then, assess the real compliance burden tied to those specific workflows. And then develop a clear plan to modernize those phone payments, bringing them in line with all your other digital channels.
Right. So the big takeaway here seems to be payment modernization isn't just an IT project anymore. It's actually a core leadership decision about managing risk, controlling resources effectively, and ensuring fundamental business continuity.
Well said. Hopefully, this deep dive gives you the framework to start those really critical strategic conversations within your own organization.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Our pleasure. We'll catch you next time.